Another day, another SEO question answered in public. So this question is from Ollie. He asked, how did I measure if XY are working or not? It takes time to know the difference. And I initially didn't know what he's talking about, but essentially what he means is, how do you know if a change to your content is going to be good or bad? Or, how do you know if it's working? And how long does it take to see the results? And I think from my experience, at least, it does take time. However, it can be like super, super different based off of how authoritative your domain is. So that is usually expressed as something like domain rating or domain authority. Usually you will get more crawl budget, so Google will crawl your site more often and they will go deeper because they have to allocate, how much of the internet they're going to crawl at a high level, right? There's a lot of detail to this, but that's kind of what it is. And sometimes that means I see change within a day. Like some pages, they, after a refresh, they immediately like picked up after one day, especially for Bridesmaid for Hire, for example. In other domains, it can take like 2 weeks until I see a change, or a week. So I would check in like week over week and see what's going on. And essentially, you can't really go wrong, for example, with adding value to your blog post. So anything, or to your page. And it's not just about blog posts, right? But essentially how SEO works is like Google wants to show the best content for the user intent, right? And so if you're aligned with intent, which is the first thing you need to know, are people looking for a guide? Are they looking for a list of example speeches, for example, like a listicle? Are they looking for a list to inform themselves of multiple things? Are they looking to do a deep dive on a guide? Are they looking to use a tool? Like if I make a guide on how to edit videos for video editor as the keyword, which is clearly a keyword that means I am looking for a video editor, it's not going to work well, right? So that's the first thing, to be aligned with intent. And then looking at competitors, looking at what they're doing, what angle they're taking, and then thinking about how can you add value to that, and essentially how you can see it earlier if things are likely to work. I'm not saying it's gonna work, but for example, one proxy you can use is in Google Analytics. You can see how long are people spending, how much time are they spending on the page. So if they land on the page and all of a sudden they spend 30 seconds longer because of something you added, which for example, I usually add an infographic or a video, or add another question that I haven't answered before in the article that's plays a big role, for example. So always look for related questions, or people also ask if you're doing content because you want to cover that in your article if possible, if it's related and relevant. Unless you have answered it somewhere else, then you should link there, right? So that's something to pay a lot of attention to. And again, comparing to competition and thinking about how can you add value to that, and you can never be wrong with that, I think. Or I mean, you might, but it's unlikely. And so looking at engagement rate in Google Analytics, are people clicking something? Are they clicking through? Are they finding what they're looking for? I'm on page. And then those can be signals for you having improved the content. Now, does Google reward that? You will have to wait and see, right? But technically, if we're thinking about the user getting more value out of your content and the user being like happy, that should mean and engaging with it and not like churning immediately, like not dropping off. There's no reason why they shouldn't. So then it's a matter of like, how much competition is there? How strong is the competition? If you don't have a lot of competition, it's very likely you're going to rank better. If there is a lot of competition, it might be a matter of backlinks and not necessarily like on page. So you need external validation for Google to show them by, getting links to that specific blog post that you are very authoritative and you know what you're talking about, because other people, are sending signals to Google that you are smart and your content is good, because otherwise people won't link to it, right? Like that's the idea behind that essentially. So you're giving Google external validation that's not from you, because internal linking is like you're linking to other topics on your page or on your domain rather, and you're saying these all belong together. But Google's not going to necessarily, it is weighed, but like someone, like a news outlet, or let's say if we have an SEO tool, like if you're all of a sudden Ahrefs or, SEMrush, their blog, all of a sudden they link to us for a certain thing, like certain thing within the SEO space that I'm covering, that is a really strong signal for Google, because they have a lot of authority in the space, because they've been around for a long time. They have a lot of backlinks themselves, etc., etc. Right? Like all these signals that they have, that Google has, that means that they're authoritative, that you're an authority to talk about this topic, because otherwise they won't link to you, right? Like that's the idea. But I mean, obviously it's not always how it works. You know, a lot of who's the biggest, who gives the best affiliate deal, you know, especially with things like listicles or roundups is a thing. So, you know, always pay some attention to that as well. But the basic idea is that. And the other stuff is people trying to, you know, game the system. Sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. But if you stick to those, you know, rules of thumb, I think you're doing well. All right, that's it.